What up, you lab rats? This is episode number 45, and today we're going to talk about 3 more chapters in this part 2 book review of Petra Kelly's Tax-Free Retirement. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the Lab Rat Dailies, guys. This is the in-between show between Kevin and I, the main show on Wednesday. Every day has a theme. Today, on Sunday, is Cozy Sunday. So on Cozy Sunday, I take books that I've been reading and disseminate what I've learned from that book to you. I feel that reading is slowly leaving this culture, but I mean, like books and stuff, but I really want to try to hang on to that, even though I am not the best reader out there. I know that there's a lot that can be gained for our generation if we come back to the written word and sort of go through it together. Sometimes it's painful, right? I was just explaining in the last Cozy Sunday episode that, he basically teases me for the longest time until the very end. What is it? What is the tax-free retirement? What is going to be tax-free at the very end? But as I was saying in the last episode, that you cannot lead a horse to water that is not thirsty, right? So in this way, I'm kind of making all of us thirsty for the information at the very end. That way, we are more prone to act and make wiser decisions about our finances. And this is not to convince you guys to go with said tax-free retirement, plan, whatever is at the end of this book. It's to just get us, to whet our palates, to be thirsty for the knowledge, to be wise about our money. That's what this is for, okay? So despite all of the, sides that this book can lean on, anti-government or anti-taxes or whatever, just know that it's basically a review, and I'm going to share with you my experience of this book and what he's saying and try to relate it back to, our language, okay? So, so last week we talked about 3 of the first financial landmines, as he calls it. If you're not caught up with us, you can go back and visit part 1 of this book review. So the first one, though, I'll catch up real quick, okay, was the financial landmines that we as a society, as Americans, kind of fall into, as to why this kind of financial debacle has laid upon us, is because, number one, we don't plan to save, we don't plan at all for our retirement and whatever that means. We procrastinate about saving, right? Who here saves? I didn't. Number 3, Mr. Interest. He introduces the concept that interest can work for you or against you, okay? So now we're on landmine number 4, and that is instant gratification, our kind of desire for instant gratification as a populace. As humanity, we do want to make our lives better, and instant gratification falls into that. However, we've really taken it to kind of an unhealthy level, right? So buying things on credit and living beyond our means, and I'll pay for it later, and stacking up an insurmountable amount of debt that is by all means impossible to pay, right? And it becomes this ridiculous amount too because of interest working against you. And so as an economy, he kind of lays out that how we've wanted to progress humanity as a society, as a culture, and to make life better for everybody. We've kind of really taken it into a level of laziness and a non-appreciative kind of how do you say, just being not very not appreciative of working for something, right? So he also lays out that our economy is based on this cycle of debt, and we've gotten too comfortable with debt. And I want to share with you guys a little story. I actually have a Chapter 7 bankruptcy on my record. Yeah. And to me, that's like nothing now. But at the moment, it was because of, in my defense, okay, in my defense, it was because I was in a relationship that took advantage of me, and I was very young and stupid, basically. But that, very unfortunate kind of incident that happened to me very early on kind of taught me uh, with a lesson that I wish I really didn't have to learn, kind of, but in a way I'm very grateful for, because it taught me about learning about debt, and that buying on credit is not necessarily a good thing. And we've only been sold that buying on credit and building up your credit score is a good thing because of the society that we're in, right? And so it's part of this cycle. It's part of this economy of opening up a credit line, and hey, you can have $20,000 of credit and you just have to pay us whatever. And that kind of cyclic, ill-mannered way of spending what you don't have so you can have it now is a sort of unhealthy pattern that we're following totally as a society, that is in very many ways detrimental to to us as humans, right? So we're not really appreciating you know living within our means. That's all that is. So, oh, quick thing back to my story with the whole bankruptcy. It's still on my record. It's going to be on my record for about 10 years or so, but I'm very comfortably living outside of the credit space. I have cut all of my credit cards. I think I have one because I'm an authorized user on one of my parents' card, where it's like an emergency type of thing if I need gas and I'm stuck in the middle of nowhere and I don't have cash or something. That is basically all that is there for. And yeah, I have no credit cards, and I actually spend cash wherever I go, or I have like a debit card. So it's kind of a cyclic thing, and it leads into the next kind of landmine, which is this thing of following the masses. And even though we live outside of our means, we think it's okay because everybody else is doing it, which leads into the next landmine, which is following the masses. Okay, so we do this, and this is very important. We follow the masses because we fear and are kind of ashamed of being alone and not fitting in. As humans, we want community. We want other humans to like us. And when we stand out, it makes us feel very, very uncomfortable. At the same time, he goes on to explain that in the finance world of protecting the money that you've earned, you need to kind of reverse that sort of mentality of following the masses. You need to not follow the masses and be educated about every choice that you're making with your money, not just because so and so said so. So I just had a conversation with Kevin about, oh, this guy says, there's tax-free retirement in this said vehicle, and then he goes and talks to somebody else, and that somebody else says, well, this somebody else said that's total boo hockey. Boo hockey, because I've been watching Friends, and it's boo hockey, and they don't know what they're talking about, and you can't even do this, and you can't even do that, and it's like we kind of feel played to and manipulated because we don't know who to believe. So the point of this podcast and the point of reading books like this is for you to delve deeper into the subject and act and really find out, right, instead of just taking somebody's word for what that is. National bestseller is a marketing term, right? As marketers, we should recognize this. As consumers, you should recognize this. Yes, this says, okay, you've passed some sort of barrier within my mind as to why I'm going to buy this book. However, he still goes on to state that you need to make those decisions. Don't blame me if whatever. Like, you have to take responsibility for your decisions. And I think over time, as a populace, it's a way to kind of, when you follow the masses, you kind of skirt your own responsibility on the decisions you make. And that's a cop-out. So don't do that. Man up. That's a term, sorry. Woman up. woman up and take responsibility for your actions and take responsibility for your money. And he didn't say that, but that's kind of the vibe that I'm getting from this book, and definitely a message that I want to give to you guys as I read to you this thing, because I'm not saying like this is the end all send all, right? Okay, so I just want you guys to know, knowledge is power, and whoever controls the knowledge, if you're not knowledgeable, if you're not educated, like say you like go to a car deal and you know nothing about cars, that fool can sell you on anything. So you need to be educated so you don't get manipulated and taken advantage of, like I was so many years ago, and that's why I have a damn bankruptcy on my record. Okay, so I wasn't educated. Last one, the inertia factor. This one's my favorite. Okay, so it's the reason why we have such a hard time kind of changing bad habits and, dieting and exercising, getting back in the gym, is because it's just so much easier to do something that we're comfortable with, that we're familiar with, okay? And it's hard to change that. But you know what? If you have that meta awareness that, okay, this is just hard because I haven't done this in like forever. So I just need to realize that it is going to be hard for a while, just for a while, for a moment. It's like this weightlifting story that I kind of related back to marriage in this post in Medium. Plug my Medium post. For a moment, when you deadlift, okay, I'm going to use that example. When you deadlift, you put all the weight on there, whatever, and especially if you've never done it before, and you don't have the muscles that have been, trained and have that muscle memory of doing that motion, it's heavy as hell. Like, I remember the first time I deadlift, I was like 50 pounds, and it felt incredibly heavy. Today, since I've been doing it consistently, like day in, day out, every other day, I just flew up with that weight. It was amazing. It was crazy. And it felt really good. But it was only hard. It was only difficult for a little time, And I've only been going to the gym for like a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks. And now it's like I can pull that like nothing. And so I want you guys to think about that inertia factor, that, it takes a little bit of extra force in the beginning when you're trying to do something different, like saving for your future or investing your money into something that can work for you. And it might be a little like weird and annoying and new to change your old habits. However, if you just have that awareness, like this is only temporary, right? It's only temporary that this pain or struggle or annoyance is happening right now, because afterwards it's going to be easier. And if you can tell yourself that and have that awareness, it becomes much easier to start new things, start new habits, get on a diet or whatever you're trying to change about your life. Okay, so yeah. Knowing that, right, it should give you power. It should give you the power to make decisions in your life that are actually meaningful. Okay, so it's kind of cool, these last 3 chapters a little more self-dev than about money, but the fact is when you make sort of mental shifts in your brain, like the things that we discussed here, everything else becomes very, very doable. Whether you take it into money or business or your relationship, you have to have that mental capacity to handle whatever's going to go on in that space. Do you know what I'm saying? So when you start the work in here, everything else will line up for you. If it's not in here first and you're trying to do things kind of outside of yourself and change outside of yourself, and nothing kind of comes from within, that has a true motivation as to why you're trying to make that change, such as saving or living tax-free at the end of your retirement, it's really going to be difficult for you to make a permanent change, right? To play the long game if you haven't mentally mastered whatever that decision or whatever that commitment that you're making. All right, so those were the next 3. Those were the 3, in this book. I thought those were very interesting. And he also gives out a kind of cool little call to action here. And I went there And this was just to opt out of any pre-qualified credit offers in the mail, and it could possibly raise your credit score if that means anything to you guys. So I will put that in the show notes and you can go there and check it out. Please spend less than you earn. Try not to put yourself in a hole. Try not to get comfortable with debt. Debt is not good. Debt is not good for you. I know that's kind of obvious thing to say, but I think we give ourselves too much credit on buying on credit, right? So yes, resist that urge for instant gratification, because sometimes it's just this little thing. You know, you just have this itch that you've been following. You know, Kevin will often fall into these kind of instant gratification itches, and I'm glad that he now comes to me and asks me, you know, should I buy this? And I say, well, think about it. You know, is it just going to be another thing that sits in the garage after, you know, 2 months of use? So that kind of helps too, if you have a partner who can kind of check yourself before you wreck yourself. Okay. And another thing, great quote that I'm going to end this kind of little self-dev thingy with, is that here it is: if you always do what you've always done, you'll always get what you've always got. Okay, so it's true. You know, whatever you put into what you're doing, and that's all you do, then that's all you're gonna get. Okay, so take that for what that means. And that is today's episode on Cozy Sunday on the Lab Rat Dailies. And we're moving and trucking through tax-free retirement together. Question for you guys: what stood out to you the most of this book review during these 3 chapters? Was it the instant gratification? Do you often catch yourself doing that, following the masses, or the inertia factor like mine? That's my favorite. So let me know in the comments and I'll see you in there. And until then, we'll see you tomorrow on Motivation Monday here on the Lab Rat Dailies. Once again, my name is Megan, reminding you to get in the lab. And we'll see you next time. Peace out. Good stuff, eh? Patrick Kelly. All right. I feel like I talked a lot there. I thought this was supposed to be cozy, not crazy. It's like Crazy Sunday.